Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked where I climb the online series 13 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. Today we are trying out a very fun team featuring Fling HAWLUCHA as well as Weakness Policy Solgaleo. I actually saw this team on the VGC subreddit and figured I had to try it out given that we haven't used HAWLUCHA very much, and I think it's really cool, and Solgaleo is one of my all-time favorite restricteds in Sword and Shield. And so the general idea is that HAWLUCHA can fling Salac Berry on a Weakness Policy Solgaleo that activates Weakness Policy on the Solgaleo and gives it an immediate speed boost as well, turning Solgaleo into an absolute monster. Solgaleo can also be supported by Bulldozed Choice Scarf Kyogre here to also activate the Weakness Policy. So, as always, I'll do a quick breakdown of the team, but if you want to just skip to the battles, check out the timestamps in the description below. Thanks so much as always for watching. Thank you to Warner for the team. The Reddit post and description of the team is linked down in the description below, as well as a paste and rental code courtesy of the original creator, and let's get started. The general idea behind HAWLUCHA here is that you can use Fling to give Solgaleo a Weakness Policy activation, and the Fling also flings Salac Berry on a Solgaleo, which thus also gives it a speed boost. So immediately, you can get Solgaleo to +2 attack, +1 speed in just one move from the Fling combination here. Another thing to note is that HAWLUCHA is fairly speedy with base 118 speed, which is a benchmark that most players don't really EV for. And so if you just naturally outspeed your opponent, they don't have something like Tailwind or something super fast that can KO HAWLUCHA immediately, HAWLUCHA and Solgaleo is a really strong lead combination. Once you get the Fling combination off, you also have moves for utility like Coaching and Ally Switch, as well as Acrobatics for some damage. And of course, with Unburden, the HAWLUCHA is just super speedy as soon as you get rid of the Salac Berry onto Solgaleo. So this is one of the primary leads and modes with this team. You could also go with Kyogre and Solgaleo. The Kyogre is Choice Scarf here, but critically is Bulldoze, and so the Bulldoze here can just activate Weakness Policy on Solgaleo immediately, and also drop your opponent's speed. So two different ways to enable Solgaleo from the lead matchup. Another way I like playing with the team is leading something like Whimsicott plus the Solgaleo here, and just basically protecting Solgaleo while sacrificing Whimsicott. That gives me a free switch into either HAWLUCHA or Kyogre, and then I can enable the Weakness Policy from there. And yeah, once you have Tailwind up, it's really hard for your opponent to stop you unless they also have some speed control like their own Tailwind or Trick Room. The Whimsicott here is a really bulky set. The EV spread's actually max HP, max special defense for defense. For me, it hasn't really come up so much to the point where it's relevant. I think you could easily just go like max special attack, max speed. The one thing to worry about when you're using a set like this is opposing taunts from Whimsicott, right? Because you are just going to be slower than them. So that's one thing to watch out for. But otherwise, yeah, you do have a lot more bulk to work with, meaning you can take, water spouts from Kyogre with more ease than you normally would expect to, right? So another mode, like I mentioned, is Whimsicott Solgaleo with Kyogre HAWLUCHA in the back. Finally, to round out the team, you've got a Citrus Berry support Thundurus here. This isn't really anything new, but yeah, just very valuable into a lot of the special attackers in the format. No Thunder Wave, you got Scary Face instead, so you won't be able to paralyze things, but you'll be able to drop the speeds of even electric-type Pokemon. And then to round things out, there is a Life Orb offensive Ho-Oh here, Sacred Fire, Brave Bird, Earthquake, and Protect. So in my experience with the team so far, in just a couple of games I've played, it's very much heavily centered around enabling Solgaleo as much as possible, but Ho-Oh can be really good into certain team comps, and Thundurus is always a solid defensive option as well. So yeah, it's mainly really asking yourself, like, okay, how do I get Solgaleo enabled properly? Because HAWLUCHA plus Solgaleo can look really good, but if they have something that outspeeds HAWLUCHA and can just one-hit KO it, it can put you in a really bad spot, because you essentially just lose a Pokemon off the lead, right? And there's no Protect on HAWLUCHA, Whimsicott, Kyogre, or Thundurus, and so keep that in mind. For that reason, I think lead matchups are really important. I really like leading HAWLUCHA Solgaleo or Kyogre Solgaleo if they don't have ways to naturally outspeed this duo, or if they don't have something like Tailwind. And for HAWLUCHA, you really just want to worry about things that can one-shot it before you can move. So Zacian with Play Rough is the biggest example, but Calyrex with the Psychic type attack as well. And so yeah, really excited to showcase what this combination can do, so let's get some HAWLUCHA action in. Okay, we've got Marshadow here, Calyrex, Groudon, Regieleki, Zacian, and Grimmsnarl. I immediately think that the Solgaleo here is going to be excellent if we can enable it properly. Regieleki is a slight concern, but I have to say I am intrigued by the idea of Scarf Bulldoze with Solgaleo. How do I feel about Ho-Oh or Thundurus here? I don't think either are super strong, truthfully. I think in this one, I'm okay leading Whimsicott with Solgaleo, and then Kyogre and HAWLUCHA in the back. So the general idea is that, we want to set up Tailwind. Once we get Tailwind up, we can use Kyogre or HAWLUCHA to enable the Solgaleo. And I think Solgaleo can sweep through my opponent's team fairly quickly if we get to that spot. I think one of the awkward things here is not having our, potential Weakness Policy set up on the field immediately. Like, I'm going to have to, take some time to get there. But if my opponent, KOs Whimsicott on turn 1, that would be super ideal. And they go with Calyrex Groudon. Okay. Works for me. I think turn 1 I'm honestly content just clicking Protect and Tailwind. I guess my only fear is if they have Trick Room on Calyrex. Kyogre plus Solgaleo actually would have worked out quite nicely here. I would have been able to just bulldoze Steel Spike into Calyrex immediately, but I wanted to respect the Regieleki on my opponent's team. Yeah, so I'm actually just going to Tailwind here. And I'm okay going for Protect here. I would actually be happy for Groudon to Max Quake and activate my policy through Protect, but they're not going to Max here. Okay, Solgaleo is going to Protect. At Calyrex Trick Rooms, by the way, I can always reverse it with Encore or my own Trick Room. But they just Astro Barrage. Cool. I would love to just see Astro Barrage plus Precipice Blades here, because that would be amazing for us, right? It's a free switch into Kyogre or HAWLUCHA. Okay, Whimsicott's down to Focus Sash. And they just Blades. That's amazing for us if Whimsicott feigns here. Let's see. Nice, it does. Okay. I could go into HAWLUCHA. I think Kyogre is actually the better answer right now. It's just Scarf Water Spout. Like, the main thing is if I go into HAWLUCHA, I have to respect Focus Sash on Calyrex, right? And I don't want to get hit by a Will-O-Wisp. So, I think it's better to go into Kyogre now, but we can finish the game off with HAWLUCHA. Like, as fun as HAWLUCHA is, I think it's just objectively the worst Pokemon to bring out right now, relative to Kyogre. Now, if Calyrex, you know, didn't have the threat of Focus Sash, then okay, I'd probably be willing to be a little bit more aggressive there. But now they have no switch-ins into Water Spout or Max Steel Spike. So, we can just Water Spout. The interesting debate here is whether or not we even need a Dynamax with Solgaleo. And the other debate is, do I want to go for Steel Spike or Quake? I think I'm fine maxing and going for Steel Spike in this position, because Groudon's the more likely Dynamax candidate right now. But this is just the strength of Kyogre, right? You get it into one good spot like this, and suddenly it can threaten like a double knockout immediately. So I'd also be willing to switch out Kyogre into HAWLUCHA, get the Fling combo off. Yeah, the main thing is, like, let's say I brought HAWLUCHA in, I go for Fling, Steel Spike, Calyrex's Focus Sash, then it's a pretty awkward spot for us, I would argue. That is going to be Marshadow coming out. Okay, fine by me. Like, HAWLUCHA is actually pretty interesting offensively in this one as well, with Acrobatics and Fling. But we can, like, one of the cool things you can do with this team is, like, towards the end of Tailwind, fling the Salac Berry into the Solgaleo to give it a speed boost, right? Because, like, a lot of times players are going to try to stall out your Tailwind by going for Protects, and this is kind of a cool way around that. Okay, they're not going to max, they're not going to protect. This is just going to be a very powerful Water Spout, and it's the Focus Sash actually on the Marshadow. I was thinking it might be Specs Calyrex, given that I brought Whimsicott down to Focus Sash, and the Whimsicott here is actually fairly defensive as well. So we get Steel Spike off, cool. Groudon probably comes back out, and I want to give HAWLUCHA a shot, so I'm willing to switch Kyogre out into HAWLUCHA here, and then just go for a Steel Spike onto Marshadow to guarantee the KO there. Then we're at +2 defense. I don't really have to worry about a Max Quake from your Groudon. And then I can go for coaching with HAWLUCHA on subsequent turns as well. Of course, I could fling the Salac Berry as well, right? But that would mainly be to just get rid of the Berry at that point to activate Unburden. And since we still have Tailwind, we don't necessarily need Unburden immediately. But yeah, I think like turn 1 basically was like the absolute dream scenario for us here. So they actually just bring out Zacian. Okay. Truthfully, I think it's better here to not switch in HAWLUCHA yet. Like, if I switch Kyogre into HAWLUCHA, Steel Spike to KO... Oh, actually, because I get a defense boost, I actually am down to go for this. Yeah. Like, the idea is, by doing this, if I KO the Marshadow, I just win the Weather War, and then Scarf Kyogre just wins me the game at this point. If I get a little bit of chip damage... And Zacian protects. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay. Yep, they just go for Shadow Sneak. That's fine. HAWLUCHA does not mind that. We'll take that any day of the week. And now I can actually just fling, get this boost onto Solgaleo, and then just max Steel Spike or Quake the Zacian. I'd probably just go for Max Quake here, just because, I don't know, if Zacian's like ultra bulky and it survives, that'd be a problem. Plus, at this point, I have 2 defense boosts, so I don't really care about Groudon. I think the key thing here is just we had very huge speed control throughout the course of this game. So Groudon can Dynamax now, but it's a little bit too late, I would say. And I'm down to go for Fling here as well, because I think my opponent's win condition is going for a double Protect with Zacian right now, and it's the last turn of Tailwind here, so if they get the double, the Fling means I don't even have to worry that much about it. So we'll Fling on a Solgaleo, and we'll go for Max Quake here. Just does more damage, thanks to Super Effective. I'm just glad to get HAWLUCHA out here as well. So I think the main thing when using this team is like properly enabling Solgaleo often, right? And it's like you can go Kyogre Solgaleo as a lead. I think that's really effective if they don't have anything that naturally outspeeds Kyogre, like Regieleki, or if they don't have Tailwind, right? But a fair amount of teams in this format will have Tailwind, so it's not that easy to execute. HAWLUCHA and Solgaleo can also be really good if your opponent doesn't have anything that can outspeed and one-hit KO HAWLUCHA, but there are a lot of Pokemon in this format that do pressure with that. So they're not going to bother protecting the Zacian here. We will just get the Fling off. I think the one awkward thing here is, I guess, if Groudon gets a critical hit Max Quake on a Solgaleo, I'm not even sure that gets the knockout, to be honest, without a attack boosting item. But without a crit here, the game is definitely over going into next turn. We can just go for coaching into Sunsteel Strike, and then Kyogre comes out, Water Spouts, wins the game for us. There's Max Quake into Zacian, and that'll be a one-hit KO. Beautiful. Yeah, I think Solgaleo is also pretty underrated in the format right now, but it has to worry about a fair amount of things. Will-O-Wisp from Calyrex, Yveltal, Foul Play in general. Fair amount of Pokemon in the format. Hit it for super effective as well, but if you don't get burnt and you're able to activate the weakness policy, this thing can be an absolute monster. And yeah, Max Quake barely dents us there thanks to the defense boosts. So that's one of the interesting things with this team. You can use HAWLUCHA in the early game, but you can also use it in the end game. We had built up a huge lead here where I don't think it was like absolutely necessary. I think Kyogre Solgaleo was honestly enough to just sweep through my opponent's entire team, but I think HAWLUCHA, you can see the potential value here, right? So I'm down to just go for coaching here and Sunsteel Strike. Ally Switch is probably the meaner play to make, but I think either works here since Water Spout from Kyogre is always going to win the game anyway. And I'm also curious how much a +3 attack Sunsteel Strike does here. I'm also curious if their Precipice Blades even KOs us here, truthfully, with us being... Or sorry, Max Quake, with us being at +2 defense. I actually think we might survive, given that previous Max Quake. Nice. Oh, actually, thanks to coaching, yeah, for sure. But without coaching, we would have fainted there. So now I get just another coaching onto Solgaleo, and I think we might just KO here. Okay, and then we obviously have Scarf Kyogre in the back as well. But in the end, HAWLUCHA was able to Fling onto the Solgaleo and get us to another couple of coaching boosts as well, which is awesome. So some Steel Strike on a Groudon, and it will hang on with the Sliver, but that's okay. We will allow HAWLUCHA to deal the finishing blow with an Acrobatics here onto Groudon as Max Quake KO Solgaleo. So, yeah. The main thing was that turn 1 just worked out really well for us, right? Like, we were able to set up Tailwind, and then my opponent never really pressured with their own speed control afterwards. And speed is so critical in a format like this where you're just allowed so many restricted Pokemon. I do think one of the fun things here is that the 4 we brought here was actually like a mode that we could have used in Series 12, right? Only 2 restricteds out of the 4 Pokemon, so that's always kind of fun. We're going to bring Kyogre out now. Groudon's Dynamax is about to end. And in the end, you could see like Solgaleo managing to take so many super effective max moves from Groudon can show its value when you get these boosts. So, yeah, let's go for Acrobatics here and just Water Spout. And HAWLUCHA here will deal the finishing blow with Acrobatics, and that will get the knockout on a Groudon. So in the end, we actually managed to get, what, 4 turns out of HAWLUCHA, so I'm very, very happy about that. And yeah, I think the main question in this matchup was, like, could I have led HAWLUCHA plus the Solgaleo? Given my opponent's lead, I think it actually could have been okay, but once again, like, Calyrex, Shadow Rider in general, I'm just worried about Will-O-Wisp constantly, so we can check their team here. It was Specs on the Calyrex, as we talked about. Assault Vest on Groudon here. No surprise there. Life Orb on Regieleki. Pretty classic Zacian here. Light Clay on Grimmsnarl. And then Marshadow. Spectral 3 of Close Combat. Shadow Sneak and Coaching with Focus Sash. So, yeah. Anyway, fun one with HAWLUCHA here. So let's keep things going. Alright, next game of the day here. And we are up against Zamazenta, Ho, Incineroar, Zekrom, Amoonguss, and Groudon. So definitely coaching shenanigans here. I think Solgaleo once again can be excellent for us here. Honestly, this is a game where I think HAWLUCHA Solgaleo actually can be very powerful. Kyogre in the back. Honestly, our own Ho-Oh wasn't terrible here. Like, Thunderous, Eerie Impulse, very not valuable here. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of down to bring Ho-Oh in this one. Like, it just does good damage, right? And my opponent's team is, like, fairly oriented around their own Ho-Oh, setting up the Sun. I don't know. I mean, Whimsicott always works because it's a Tailwind user, but I think in this matchup, like, Solgaleo, if it gets the Salac Berry boost, can actually just kind of wreck my opponent, right? So we'll see. They have a couple of ways that they can stop what I'm trying to do here, right? Like Amoonguss or Incineroar lead, for example. But it's going to be Groudon, Zamazenta. I'm very okay with that. Ooh, this is super interesting. I think, like, HAWLUCHA SOLGALEO has the potential to just snowball this very quickly. The main thing here is Zamazenta should be faster than HAWLUCHA, right? But what I can just go for is the immediate Fling policy activation onto Solgaleo. The interesting debate here is, like, I mean, I could just KO Zamazenta, but I don't even hate the idea of just starting to aggressively target Groudon here. They might go for, like, a coaching, right? So I definitely want a defense boost to start. Yeah, so I'm down to go for Fling, activate policy, and then just Steel Spike into Groudon. Then the next turn, I can go for my own coaching, and then Solgaleo has a speed boost, so then I can just, KO the Zamazenta as well. I guess my question is whether or not a +3 max Steel Spike KO Zamazenta, because I could go for Quake instead, but I really value getting defense boosts while we're up against Groudon right now. But I'm fairly happy with this lead. I think the thing about leading the HAWLUCHA in general is that it's a little bit volatile because the HAWLUCHA can just get one-shot sometimes, right? And if you just get one-shot, then you essentially waste a Pokemon for nothing, right? And then the Solgaleo is also just really sad. It doesn't have the weakness policy boost. Like, what are you even doing with it? So, yeah. Like, leading HAWLUCHA, you have to feel confident in it. And in this matchup, I felt fairly confident in it given what my opponent had, right? So, I think my next turn will be based off how much they do to us here with the Max Quake. And also what Zamazenta goes for. Presumably, it's going to be a coaching here in a Groudon, but I'm okay with that since we have Kyogre in the back. And, like, Kyogre in itself with Water Spout is just going to be so good in a Groudon. Oh, but we were faster with HAWLUCHA than Zamazenta. Okay, so I actually could have just gone for Fling, activate policy, Quake into Zamazenta, and one-shot it immediately. But I wanted to give Zamazenta the benefit of the doubt and figured it'd be faster. And that's honestly fine. It's not that scary right now. But the main thing here is that I get Solgaleo boosted immediately. Okay, and yep, now we just get the +2 Steel Spike in a Groudon that does just under 50%. So presumably they're going to go for coaching plus a Max Quake here, but we'll see. Yep. Okay. Oh, they go for Lightning. Even better for us. That's amazing. Okay, so this gives me a free switch in now. I'd say the one thing that I do have to, like, think about here is if I go out into Kyogre, they have Wide Guard support, potentially. So I think here I'd rather go into Ho-Oh first. Because we want to conserve Kyogre for after we knock out the Zamazenta. Yeah, I'm not sure a Steel Spike plus a Sacred Fire KO's Groudon here. I think I'm honestly content to just protect here. It's debate between Quake and Steel Spike here, basically. Yeah, I do want to protect. I think here I'd rather Quake just to 100% confirm we KO Zamazenta. I really don't want to risk Zamazenta surviving the turn. And the idea of protecting Ho here is I know I have Scarf Kyogre in the back, and that's really strong, but if Ho just gets one shot here, that could be really bad news for me. So, in a best of 3, if we were to replay this, I'd consider aggressively just targeting Zamazenta down turn 1. That actually does not KO. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, the Steel Spike definitely was not KOing there. That's impressive. Okay. Then get another coaching boost on a Groudon. This is getting a little bit scary, but I can just Steel Spike next turn, Sacred Fire Groudon, so it's fine. And they go for Lightning. Okay, beautiful. That's so much damage through Protect. But, of course, Electric Terrain boosted. Honestly, though, I think, like, the fact that our Solgaleo is still, like, untouched puts me in a really nice spot. Because now I can just go for Sacred Fire onto the Groudon slot and Steel Spike into Zamazenta, and, you know, I get a potential burn chance as well. And the key thing is that I still have this Choice Scarf Kyogre just waiting to come out. The other interesting thing is if you have Max Lightning on Groudon, are you Assault Vest? It could be, like, I don't know, a bulk upset, but yeah. If HAWLUCHA hung around and they ended up quaking into Solgaleo, I would have been able to go for, like, Coaching Max Quake. That would have just KO'd Zamazenta, but that's okay. Okay, so we're going to get Steel Spike off here. Given that Quake wasn't going to be a KO there anyway, though, like, I would have been better off just clicking Steel Spike there for a 2-hit knockout, but I figured we had the chance of KOing with Quake, so I want to take it, and I don't regret it ultimately. Okay, we don't miss Sacred Fire. Nice, it's going to connect. Do we get a burn here? The answer is no, and they are finally going to Max Quake with their Groudon. Okay. That's okay, we have +2 defense here, so yeah, we take that. Once again, I have Choice Scarf Kyogre in the back, right? Like, the main question is what their final 2 are. Could be Zekrom. Zekrom doesn't really scare me that much, though, thanks to Earthquake Pressure. The key thing, though, is that, like, I can't KO Groudon that easily right now. Like, I have to probably double up onto it. A burn there would have been absolutely huge for us, but that's okay. They could bring out their own Ho-Oh, but Solgaleo has Wild Charge. Plus, I have Kyogre in the back. Like, it would make sense for it to just be Ho-Oh plus Zekrom, right? In the back. Just go with 4 restricteds. I mean, the other interesting debate is I actually could have just brought out Kyogre against Groudon Zamazenta. Some of you are probably wondering why I didn't do that immediately, but Wide Guard on Zamazenta is a really big threat, and I don't want to just bring it in and let it faint, right? Okay, so they bring out Zekrom. Yep. Okay, so I've got +2 Earthquake. I don't know how fast Zekrom is relative to Ho-Oh here is the main question right now. $140. And what do we think their last one is going to be? Their own Ho-Oh would make sense. Because I think here I'm down to Protect and Earthquake, or I could just Sacred Fire Earthquake. I'm down to Sacred Fire Earthquake here, honestly. Zekrom protects, beautiful. Yeah, that's what I was trying to predict. And the other thing is I don't know if Zekrom's really going to be that speedy on a team like this because it's so oriented around bulk and coaching. So as long as Sacred Fire doesn't miss, we should KO the Groudon here. Beautiful. Nice, okay. That puts us in an amazing position because, like, the Zekrom just committed to Protect, so I can freely target that slot. And if, like, Ho is their last one, Water Spout from Kyogre will just be able to finish both Pokemon off after I get Earthquake onto Zekrom. Oh, it's actually a Moongus. Okay. That's interesting. Well, with Electric Terrain, they really can't do much there. So I'm down to just click Sacred Fire here into the Amoonguss slot. Actually, since Zekrom protected, we should try to target Zekrom instead, especially because they can't even put Solgaleo to sleep. So I'm just going to Earthquake and Sacred Fire Zekrom. Force the Rage Powder out of Amoonguss. Either way, Solgaleo has been amazing today. Like, I'm very, very happy about its performance in this game and the previous one. And I'm happy to showcase, like, the 2 different ways to utilize HAWLUCHA, right? Like, we used it in the early game in this one, and in the previous game, it was very much used for the end game. Okay, they're not going to go for Rage Powder. They're not going to go for Protect, so we just get Earthquake off here. I wonder if that just KOs Zekrom outright. It almost does. It's a crit onto Amoonguss, presumably. Yep. Now Water Spout will just finish off both Pokemon. And Zekrom indeed was faster. So, if my opponent actually attacked with Zekrom last turn, they could have won the game. Yeah, because I made the prediction they would try to go for Protect there. And part of it was thinking, like, making a slightly educated guess that they might be slower. Although, I guess because they were a Life Orb there, Earthquake would have KO'd anyway, and then we'd still have Water Spout in the end game with Electric Terrain being up as well. So, I think maybe we actually still be okay, but had Zekrom attacked, it definitely would have been a lot scarier. But, like, there was the potential for Kyogre to actually just sweep through my opponent's entire team there. So, yeah. I'd say the key thing in this game was, like, we had a pretty major team advantage, but Zamazenta being able to hang on turn 1 was pretty crucial. It also means that if I were to actually replay this, like I talked about how I could go for Fling and then just Max Quake into Zamazenta, but I'm actually not as confident about that anymore since we saw the Zamazenta survive the Max Quake. And that shouldn't be too surprising, like since it does, of course, have a defense boost. Yeah, Solgaleo is at +2 attack, but Zamazenta is a fairly defensive Pokemon, so yeah. Either way, though, I think what was also interesting was my opponent playing around, like potentially activating Policy on Groudon, or sorry, on Solgaleo. But in the end, we were just able to activate it immediately, and yeah, they didn't target it for the first 2 turns of the game, which gave us a pretty significant advantage. So yeah, really happy to continue bringing HAWLUCHA out, though, so we'll look for one more here. All right, third game here, and that's a Lycanroc. Huh. It's probably... Is there any chance it's Weakness Policy Charizard? I don't know. Lycanroc, Charizard, Regieleki, Calyrex, Zacian, Kyogre. Immediate impression is that, like, Whimsicott... Like, I could just go Whimsicott, Solgaleo, Kyogre, HAWLUCHA again. Thundurus is somewhat interesting thanks to Eerie Impulse in this one. I don't think it's a terrible idea, but... I feel like it'll be fairly easy to get Tailwind up, then get HAWLUCHA out next to Solgaleo, and then go from there. So I'm pretty content with the Whimsicott-Solgaleo combination here. I don't love Ho-Oh because they've got Regieleki and Lycanroc, and I think you can make a decent argument for Thundurus here. The question is who you would drop. And for me personally, I really just value Whimsicott for speed control here. I mean, there's a reason why Whimsicott's just one of the most common Pokemon in this format, right? Like, being able to get priority Tailwind up is just so valuable. So it is interesting, right? We're not playing Series 13 for much longer, but I think if this were like a, you know, tournament meta, we would see people try to counter Tailwind Whimsicott a little bit more. Like, Talonflame is a pretty interesting answer potentially against it. They're going to go with Charizard and Regieleki. Okay, I almost want to max guard Solgaleo on turn 1 then, given this, but... Definitely down to Tailwind. The logic behind max guarding here is regular Solgaleo actually does really well into my opponent's team with Earthquake, and I really don't want to eat up a G-Max Wildfire through Protect here. So I'm down to go for this. I'm mainly just curious about the setup here. Like, they don't have a Groudon on their team, so Charizard's not as strong without the Sun Up. The problem is a G-Max Wildfire, like from Life Orb Charizard, still does a fair amount of damage to Solgaleo through Protect, and then more importantly, you also get the 1/6 chip damage after the turn, and that's really bad for me. So I'm content like max guarding here because I think Solgaleo is actually offensively incredible into my opponent's team, and I don't think they can actually stop this super easily. So like, ideally, if anything, Charizard actually just targets the Whimsicott and gets a knockout onto it. Because then it gives me a free switch and I go into HAWLUCHA. The Solgaleo doesn't care about Regieleki at all, especially thanks to our ability. So, yeah. It always feels a little bit weird clicking Max Guard a turn 1. But especially in a Pokemon like Solgaleo that, you know, really wants to maximize its 3 turns of Dynamax. But I think we can get away with it in this matchup because so much about it is just positioning Solgaleo to sweep our opponent, and a lot of that is enabling both weakness policy and getting speed control up. Regieleki protects, beautiful, fine by me. I will say though, what is interesting now going into the next turn, should they target Solgaleo, is do I want to Moonblast plus Max Quake Regieleki, for example, and they Wildfire into Whimsicott. Perfect. Now, once again, of course, you could be looking at this and be like, okay, well, you know, you just wasted a max card. But once again, consider that if I just go for a regular Protect there and they G-Max Wildfire into me, it's an absolute disaster, right? Now, what's beautiful is I get the free switch into either HAWLUCHA or Kyogre. Maybe we just go into Kyogre here, honestly. And the reason for that is because I think Focus Sash is decently likely on the Regieleki here. So by going into Kyogre, like, the Regieleki just committed Protect. I set up the Rain so that your G-Max Wildfire into my Solgaleo really doesn't do too much. And we just have maximum speed control right now. This is super similar to the first game, where it's like, yeah, turn 1, I lose a Pokemon, but I'm in such a fantastic position. Because they have no switch-ins into this, essentially. So I'm just going to go for Water Spout and Max Quake, and there is nothing my opponent can do to really stop that right now. And this is what I mean, right? Like, Charizard in the rain versus in the sun, just completely night and day. And special defense boost goes such a long way in this matchup as well, given that my opponent has Calyrex, they have Kyogre as well. Their best play here is probably, you know, Protect or Max Guard Charizard, switch Regieleki out into Kyogre. Cover for that, I actually could have gone for Max Lightning onto Regieleki, because Water Spout plus Lightning probably is a KO onto everything. I kind of value the special defense boost, but in retrospect, I actually think we didn't really need to get it here. But they just bring out Calyrex. Cool. Okay. We'll see if Charizard max guards. Either way, Calyrex is fainting here, and they max guard. Beautiful. So now I can just target that slot aggressively, right? And once again, one of the things to consider as we go into this end game is, can I bring out HAWLUCHA to get the Fling off onto Solgaleo so that I can play around potential, them like just stalling out my Tailwind. Right now, though, I think it's fine. The other interesting thing here is, as we saw, the Calyrex's Focus Sash, meaning Regieleki doesn't have Sash. Them having Sash here is actually really nice for us. Without the Sash, we wouldn't have gotten a Max Quake at all, meaning we don't get a free Special Defense boost, right? But Special Defense boost honestly goes a long way in this matchup, given my opponent's Pokemon. Okay, Kyogre eats up Wildfire, as does Solgaleo. Should be in a really good spot right now, because like Charizard essentially only got one max move off in this game. I'll be able to double up onto that slot next turn. They bring Regieleki back out. Fine by me. Okay, so we know Regieleki doesn't have Focus Sash, which is a pretty big deal. What that means is I'm actually down to just click Water Spout and Max Lightning. Do I value a defense boost here at all? No, I think getting up Electric Train's better, because it helps me against Kyogre with Wild Charge. So I'm just going to Water Spout Max Lightning. Regieleki should protect here, I would presume, but then we just KO Charizard. And then with Regieleki protecting, well, I can just Earthquake. And Water Spout again. The main thing is, like, will I be able to bring HAWLUCHA out and or, like, maximize my usage of it, right? Oh, okay, Charizard actually makes the hard switch. Interesting. What are you going into? Kyogre, yeah, that is not going to help them here. I see what they're going for, though. They're going to try to protect Regieleki, yeah. But this is where having Max Lightning is just so powerful for us. And I think, like, both this game and the first game should highlight the value of speed control, especially in Series 13 in this format, but just in Pokemon in general, right? Like, I sacrificed the Pokemon to essentially make sure I could always move before my opponent in this matchup, and that's just such a big deal here, ultimately. Okay, Max Lightning gets the KO. Beautiful. Yeah, I mean, I think what they were probably playing towards is, okay, I kind of need Charizard to deal with Solgaleo in the end game here. And so they're like, okay, let me switch it out here, and if they maybe max Rockfall onto the slot there, I can survive. Okay, we take some more G-Max Wildfire. That's okay. I would love to end the game with HAWLUCHA if possible. Charizard comes back out. I mean, their play is to go for a double protect, no? Yeah, the awkward thing is I didn't really get HAWLUCHA out in time. Like, they should just go for a double protect with both Pokemon here, I think. I'm down to just switch into HAWLUCHA then. No, we should play it safe here. Oh, but I guess the awkward thing is Water Spout. Well, I should still KO Charizard. We can just Sunsteel Strike instead then. And if they don't get the double protect, we just KO Regieleki. Okay, they do get it though. That makes the game more interesting, that's for sure. That makes this very interesting, actually. Assuming Regieleki outspeeds Choice Scarf Kyogre. Okay. Yeah, well played. I mean, like, if they don't get the double there, we just win immediately because we KO Regieleki. But now the game is actually in a very interesting state. Tailwind does peter out. But the rain is up. So I expect to survive a fire type attack, but they could just, like, Electro Web here, right? So we'll see if the Regieleki's faster. What I'm going to do is Water Spout. I kind of need an Earthquake here, but I don't think that KOs Regieleki if they have Bulk, which is really concerning. Okay, they actually go for Thunder here onto the Kyogre slot, so they are faster. But if Charizard's going for a Fire-type attack now, that'll activate Weakness Policy, and then we should KO Regieleki in return with Earthquake. Oh, and they go for Scorching Sands rather than a Fire-type attack. Okay, so we're good here. Cool. We can actually end the game in style now. We actually did need HAWLUCHA because I could Fling to give me the speed boost. and then allow me to KO Charizard. I think if they... Well, yeah, you can't really Thunder Solgaleo there. I was mainly worried about Electro Web. I think because Electro Web probably KOs Kyogre and gets the chip damage you need on Solgaleo for that, plus the Scorching Sands to KO. So, yeah. That was actually fairly scary. Because, like, I felt like I was in a really good position all game, but then a single double protect, like, gave me some trouble, right? But even if I had switched Kyogre out into Hawlucha, I wouldn't have done anything. I needed Hawlucha out on the field on the last turn of Tailwind. So, yeah. I'm just going to Fling here. And Wild Charge. Okay, Charizard protects, that's fine. In fact, if that's even bad. I was thinking, like, do I ever KO myself with a crit Fling here? 45 down to 35. Yeah, the answer is no. Cool. Now we get the speed boost, and now we outspeed Charizard next turn, which is exactly what we're looking for here. I'll charge into protect. And it makes sense from there, and right, you're trying to stall out the rain, so now Heat Wave does more damage, but now I just outspeed with both Pokemon here. So we can go for Acrobatics and Wild Charge. And that should be GG. Okay, there's HAWLUCHA getting Acrobatics off. Very nice damage, actually. And there's Wild Charge to finish things off thanks to the speed boost. So, I am super happy. We brought HAWLUCHA Solgaleo out 3 games in a row and really got to feature what this combination can do. It's not the easiest to pull off. I think I definitely had the right matchup for it to really fully be executed, both in this game and the first game, where our opponents like didn't have Whimsicott, so didn't have to worry about Tailwind, and like they made our lives easier because they also just KO'd Whimsicott immediately. But yeah, that is the strength of the HAWLUCHA and Solgaleo combination, and we haven't really used Solgaleo very much in Series 13 either, but it was one of my favorite Pokemon in Series 12, so yeah. That's going to be it for this one. So thank you so much as always for watching. Leave a like if you enjoy. Don't forget to answer the question of the day. Check out the team down in the description below. And I'll see you all next time. All right. Peace.